I'll wait to see your golden smile, feel of 1,000 kisses.
Hi, welcome back to our channel. Why are you looking at me like that? Okay, Donovan didn't like that. Let's try that again. Hi. I don't like it when you're sitting there listening.
Close the door again, huh? Close it.
Hi, and welcome back to our channel. Did that sound better?
Yeah.
Okay, good. In our last episode, we had the incredible experience of crossing the Corinth Canal on our own catamaran, making our way from the Saronic Gulf into the Gulf of Corinth.
The world around us turns and fades to black.
Today we've got a long day of sailing ahead as we set course for Galaxidi, a beautiful little town where we're going to be staying for a week or so. While there, we'll rent a car and take a road trip about 45 minutes away up to one of the most legendary sites of ancient Greece, the breathtaking ruins of Delphi.
This feeling moves me.
It is quite fancy still. It'll be interesting to see what the wind is like in the water here, because we still have another 6.5 hours to get to Galaxidi, which is where we're planning on going today. If it's not too uncomfortable, we've got the engines revved up and we're barely going like 5 point something. The wind's on the nose, so can't have sails up. We have arrived in Galaxidi.
Oh yeah, we're in there.
I mean, we're entering, to be precise. I can't tell if those are rocks or sheep. Quite green over here, and the mountains are a lot bigger than they were in the Aegean side. So the town key is over here, where we are going to try and get a spot. After a full day on the water, we're finally sailing into the picturesque harbor of Galaxidi. Galaxidi was once one of Greece's most important naval centers, particularly during the 18th and 19th centuries, when it was home to a powerful fleet of merchant ships. Galaxidi, along with other Greek cities and islands like Hydra, Spetses, Andros, Syros, and Chios, played a crucial role in the development of Greek shipping. Galaxidi also played a significant role in the Greek War of Independence, with its people participating in the revolution and securing safe passage for Greek ships in the Corinthian Gulf. Safe to say we're excited to drop anchor, tie up, lower the passerelle, and go explore. Alright, we dropped in about 5 meters. We're at a town key anyway. We got 37.6-ish. We're still kind of adjusting and making the chain taut, pulling back on it, making sure that we don't go back anymore. We've decided to stern tie to the town wall or quay so we can have access to water and electricity. According to online reviews, the rates to stay on the wall are extremely affordable, especially when compared to rates on the Aegean side of Greece. One of our favorite apps or websites that we use to track weather is the Windy app, or windy.com. It has a ton of features, but for this video I just want to show you the webcam feature, which we use anytime it's available in the location that we're headed to. Here in Galaxidi, there's a webcam on the exterior wall of a restaurant that points out towards the town wall. As we arrive, we look to see how full of boats the wall is and whether the water is calm or not. I took 2 screenshots while we were stern tied, and you can see Oka and our orange kayak on the top right corner of the images. Today we hit the road and made our way up to Delphi, one of the most important religious centers of the ancient world. This place was once considered the very navel of the world, and as soon as we arrived, it was easy to see why. We have arrived to the town of Delphi, and we're gonna go look at some more ruins because we haven't seen enough. And that town down there is Itea. We just came from there and took Zoe to the vet. And then Galaxidi is behind, somewhere over there, where our boat is. In ancient Greece, the Oracle of Delphi was a priestess known as the Pythia, who was believed to communicate messages from the god Apollo. People from all over the Greek world would travel to Delphi to ask questions about the future, seeking advice on everything from war strategies to personal decisions. The Pythia would enter a trance-like state after speaking in riddles or cryptic phrases, which priests would then interpret for the visitors. These cryptic prophecies were known for their double meanings, making them legendary in ancient history. This is the Treasury of the Athenians. This small but beautifully preserved building was where the people of Athens stored their offerings to Apollo. The intricate carvings on the marble walls tell stories of myths and victories, a reminder of how seriously the ancient Greeks took their devotion to the gods. Another fascinating stop was the Halos, an open-air area where purification rituals were performed before consulting the oracle. It's believed that sacred dances and ceremonies took place here, adding another layer to Delphi's spiritual significance. We also visited the altar of the Chians, an impressive structure where grand sacrifices were made to Apollo. This altar was famously donated by the island of Chios and was a central feature of temple worship. This is the Temple of Apollo, which was the heart of Delphi, where the famous oracle Pythia once delivered her cryptic prophecies to those seeking guidance. The temple's ruins still hold an air of mystery, with massive columns standing against the mountainous background. You can almost imagine the whispers of the past carried by the wind. I guess you're not allowed to play the violin. The lady just decided to come in and start playing her violin, and she's about to get kicked out of the park. What? And Claudine's out of breath again, shocker. You would think after climbing all these ancient village steps over the last year since we got here, I'd be in better shape. But Nutella and toast every morning is my jam. What an incredible backdrop to this theater.
Yeah, that's what I said on the thing. You can see the river down there. It's like a river.
Wow. Can you imagine sitting here watching a play?
You see the water, the canal over there?
And then you have this as a backdrop.
Oh shit. Smoke like that.
Then there's the Theater of Delphi, perched high on the hillside with a stunning view of the valley below. Back in the day, this place could hold around 5,000 spectators who gathered to watch music and poetry competitions. Standing here, it's easy to picture the lively performances echoing through the mountains. Yeah, these are not the easiest shoes to climb with. I think the stadium is the last thing to look at up at the top of this hill. Well, I thought we were there, but in order to see in the stadium, we still have to walk all of this. No complaints, it's beautiful, and it's shady, and it's windy. I do wish I had a little bit of water, but all is good. One last push, this little hill, and then I should have a view of the stadium.
At the very top of the site lies the Stadium of Delphi, one of the best preserved ancient stadiums in Greece. It could hold around 6,500 spectators and was used for the Pythian Games, an early forerunner of the Olympics. Standing up there, it's easy to imagine the roar of the crowd as athletes competed in foot races centuries ago. One of the most iconic sites in Delphi has to be the Tholos of Delphi, a circular temple that stands as one of the most photographed ruins in Greece. It's a bit off the main path, but worth the visit. The structure's design is mesmerizing, and its purpose remains a bit of a mystery, adding to its allure.
And for the pièce de résistance, this is Cleopatra's phone. She used to call Apollo in 723 AD. It's still in incredible shape for being that old. Carved out the sandals this guy was wearing.
No trip to Delphi would be complete without checking out the Delphi Archaeological Museum. This place is packed with ancient artifacts, including the famous Charioteer of Delphi, an incredible bronze statue that's over 2,400 years old. The level of detail is insane. You can even see the delicate folds in his tunic and the intensity in his eyes.
All the pieces are hanging on strings so you can get an idea of where they went on the statue before it was destroyed. This is fascinating. Oh, is this what we just looked at?
Yeah, so this is like a model of the Temple of Apollo.
With our minds full of ancient legends and our cameras full of incredible sights, we're heading back to Galaxidi for some well-earned rest before continuing our sailing adventure.
We got two cats laying down in front of the boat because our friends are feeding the neighborhood cats and putting their food right there next to that pole. So I told Donovan, take our leftovers now and go in front of their boat. Chicken. I said, go in front of their boat and put the food. So the cats lay down. See, look at all the cats following. It's like all the animals in the neighborhood know the moment food is being laid out. Bye bye Galaxidi, on to Trizonia. What a beautiful, beautiful anchorage.
This place is an absolute delight. Colorful neoclassical houses line the waterfront, and fishing boats and sailors bob gently in the anchorage. Galaxidi has a laid-back and old-world feel, with narrow streets, inviting tavernas, and a rich maritime history. Next, we've got a few more stops in Trizonia, Naupactos, and Missolonghi, all in the Gulf of Corinth, before we make our way into the Ionian Sea. And trust me, you won't want to miss that. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like button, drop us a comment, and subscribe to the channel for more sailing adventures. Thanks for watching. See you guys.